Sup, sexies? It's your boy here, back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and today we're going to be continuing the series of taking a look at all of the best merge projects if you're a free-to-play player. So what we've got here for today is going to be Lance units. The other day we took a look at Sword units, and we have a variety of 3- and 4-star banner demotes here that are going to be easy to merge up. We have also some heroic Grail units, and we have 2 units that were seasonal 4-stars. I'll talk about them when we get to them. But we're going to start things off with male Summer Shez. I think everyone is in agreement that this is probably the best free-to-play Lance unit in the game, and it's not really difficult to see why. His attack and speed combo is really good. Like, he's almost pushing premium levels, and his weapon is giving him flat 5+ speed. So this dude is really fast. Not only that, he's got a Brave weapon, it has Kanto Rem built in, and it's giving him 20% bonus damage based on his speed. He got the exact same weapon as the female Shez did on the banner. So they really played favorites with this male Shez, and that's good for us because he's a heroic Grail unit, so it's not difficult at all to get him a +10. So we're going plus speed, of course. You want to abuse that juicy super boon on speed that he's got. If you're going to floret him, then I would say go for plus attack. So this build here, none of these builds, by the way, are definitive builds. These are just example builds to show possible ways you could play the unit, but I am not in any means trying to tout any of these builds as being the one and only definitive way to play these characters. That is not the case, but I tried to at least make these example builds look a little cohesive. So Gambit 4 works really well on this guy because he has a Brave weapon and it doesn't have -1 special trigger. So he's getting the full +15 true damage per hit, and he's getting the flat 50% damage reduction per hit. So he's going to be looking really good when you've got Aether and Gambit 4 on this guy. It's a shame you can't use Gale Force with Gambit 4 because he would have been a monster with that. But it is what it is, so we'll take what we can get. We've got Clash 4 to give him massive amounts of attack and speed and nullify penalties. And then we have Attack and Speed Oath 4 so he can jump around and also gain more attack and speed. And Attack and Speed Solo as well. You could probably use a different seal too. You could try Attack and Speed Catch, because if you're jumping adjacent to an ally with Attack and Speed Oath 4, then he's not going to be able to get the solo effect. So Catch could work as well, but I'm mainly thinking you're going to play this guy with like legendary Hinoka support so he can get charge and get the special ramping, so you can reliably activate Aether there. So just some food for thought with this guy, but he is, as I said earlier, probably everyone's pick for the best Lance unit that's free to play. Okay, next up we have Summer Norn here. She is a God Lance. So the only infantry Lance that I think is worth building at the moment. Things could change in the future. We might get a better one, but for the time being, Norn is our girl. So she works really well with Arcane Lewin. She has a super boon on speed, so make sure if you're going to use the trait fruits to get her an Ivy, then definitely go for plus speed here. So Arcane Lewin, very strong weapon. Lances are really lucky because actually both of the Arcane Lances are very nice. So Arcane Lewin and Arcane Qiang, I think that's definitely not how you say it. It might be like Arcane Chang. I've heard some people say it that way, but I'm not Chinese, so I don't know how to say it. Regardless, both of the Arcane Lances are very good. So just a typical God Sword build here. We've got Close Call 4, we got Finish 4, Times Pulse 4 to combo nicely with Vital Astra, and then Bonus Doubler just to stat stack her as high as you can. So very self-explanatory with Norn. Next up we have Vigard here. Vigard is very cool because he's one of the highest scoring free-to-play units we've got. So it's basically him, Murdoch, and that's about it. Because sadly Cervantes didn't get the super boon on any of his stats, so he misses out on reaching the 200 BST. However, Vigard does reach it. So we got to go plus speed or plus defense on him to do that. He has a super boon on defense, and that's exactly what you would want anyway. We're using Arcane Chang here. I guess I'm going to call it Chang because Qiang doesn't really roll off the tongue as easily. So Arcane Chang, we got Pavis here. Hardy Fighter, of course, with Pavis and the -1 special trigger and the special ramping will allow this to be very consistent. We have Fire Flood Boost here to give guard. It gives attack up, or HP up 5, and then attack and res up 7. So just raising his bulk. Res is pretty nice on him because, of course, if he's going to deal with melee units, he may be dealing with some dragon units that can target his res. So we want defense and res near save as well for that reason, and defense and res form. You could also try deflect melee if you wanted to just get some extra damage reduction, but I think this should suffice. Alright, next up we have Geralt here. Geralt is a cavalry type unit. So he's probably the best free-to-play cavalry type unit that we have for lances. And unfortunately, he's not very fast. So he's more so trying to be like a brawler with a lot of attack and defense. So we'll take a look at a good, fast cavalry lance in a second. But for the time being, we're at Geralt here. So he has a super boon on attack, I believe. He may have one in attack and defense, but we're going plus attack and defense here because we have the trait fruits and the florets to look at. So his weapon, what it does is it's going to inflict attack and defense -6 and panic on the enemy's team that has the highest attack and defense total. And then it's also going to do the same debuff to enemies that are in 2 spaces of that target. So potentially you could just debuff the entire enemy team with this weapon, which is pretty nice. So we're also running Gambit here because he doesn't have -1 special trigger. Gambit is a really strong skill, actually. I may have been a little quick to downplay Gambit in my breakdown video of it, because the more units that don't have -1 special trigger, the better off this looks. And it's also really good on brave weapons, too. So don't sleep on Gambit, actually. It's quite good. So Aether, of course, for healing and powering up Gambit by having a high cost. Fireful Flood boost once again. You could also go for attack and defense clash 4 if you wanted. We got Alarm attack and defense to raise his attack and defense and get Kanto. And then attack and defense solo also. So Geralt is really nice. Very good merge project. Okay, next up we have Eldigan here, who is going to be a dancer. Our first dancer of the list. We're actually going to take a look at another dancer as well. But Eldigan, we can use Arcane Shang here. We've got Dance. We have Guard Bearing 4, Guidance, Bracing Stance, Defense and Res Form, and Pavis. So the idea is to just have him as a jumping beacon for your other units to jump in, and then he can just dance them so you can just keep on attacking the enemies. Hopefully he can survive in the front lines, but I mean, with Pavis and -1 special trigger from Chang, and then also the +1 special ramping there, he can consistently get Pavis. Guard Bearing just gives you a ton of DR for free, so it could work. Bracing Stance is inflicting guard as well, and you're getting a lot of defense and res here. But a lot of people also play this guy in Aether raids with visible defense buffs, so he can get around Milla's isolation. That's another way you can do it, and in which case you would want Fortress Defense and Res 3 and the Fortress Defense 3 Sacred Seal, just to raise his defense as high as he can. But Eldigan is a very nice dancer, and he's dressed in that Jugdral drip that we love to see. Okay, so here we have 4 units here, 4 flying lance units that are all basically the exact same unit. They have minor differences between each other, but for the most part, they're all statistically similar. Phila has more res than the rest of them. Marcia has more defense than the rest of them, and then Vanessa and Karen are both very similar in terms of overall stat distribution, and they have the most speed of the bunch. They both have 56, while Phila and Marcia have 55. So just pick whichever one you like best for your purposes, whichever one's your favorite character, or whichever one has that unique stat point that you're looking for. Phila, for example, with her higher res stat, is able to use Pegasus Flight really well, so I decided to give her a build like this. But to tell you the truth, all 4 of these units can basically run the exact same builds that I have on all of them, and they should be able to get the same effectiveness with some minor differences, of course. So Lewin, we've got Distant Attack Speed Solo, Gambit 4, Speed and Defense Hold. Just feel free to mix and match. As you see, like all 4 of them, I tried to give them different skills, but all of the assortments in this bag here, you could just mix and match on all these units to get your favorite combo. All of them have super boons on speed, by the way, which is very good, and they're all 3 and 4 star demotes on regular banners, so as time passes, you will be able to get all of these guys up to +10, so just pick whichever one you like the most. And then finally, we have Larum here, who is a faster dancer than Eldigan. She wants to be trying to be a speedy type of unit. So we've got Arcane Lewin, we've got Gale Force, Attack and Speed Clash 4, Firestorm Dance 3, the best dance skill right now. Gives you Auto Desperation, and then the dancer can cancel away. And then Soaring Guidance, of course. This Sacred Seal here, this one, Squad Ace, is the one that gives HP up 5 and Attack and Speed up 3. And you could totally give her a better seal if you wanted to. I just gave her this because when it comes to dancers, they're probably not the first ones getting the first pick of Sacred Seal. You'll probably want to give, like, your good offensive Sacred Seals, like Attack Speed Solo, Blade Session, Attack Speed Catch, to your offensive units. So Larum's getting the pick of the litter, the last pick of the litter. So she's going to get this Sacred Seal here, but as I said, feel free to use a better seal if you want. Oh, by the way, she does have a Super Boon on Speed. I don't know why I didn't give her Boons and Banes here. So she has a Super Boon on Speed, so you'd probably just want to go plus Speed plus Attack here. Just make her a Gale Force option. Gale Force works really nice on these dancing units, so they can attack, get a Gale Force, and then dance on somebody and just give you the most amount of actions per turn as possible. Also, another cool thing about Larum is that she is one of only 2 dancers from Fire Emblem 6. It's her and the regular alt of Larum. So it's nice that we got this as a free-to-play option, whereas the other Larum is 5-star exclusive. And now we're coming over to the last set of the batch. So these lances here, these 2 here, Hilda and Owain, are going to be seasonal 4-stars, so they do cost orb investment to get to plus 10. They're not entirely free to play, but depending on your luck, they could be very easy to get to plus 10. Much more cost-efficient plus 10s than 5-star exclusives. So it's certainly worth at least considering going for Hilda and Owain at plus 10 if you've got the orbs. Now, Owain is unrivaled by any of the other cavalry lances. He's got a Super Boon on both attack and speed, and his speed stat is quite good already. He's getting a lot of flowers now, especially with the flower cap raise, so this guy is looking really spicy right now. Arcane Chang works very good with Flared Sparrow and Flow Desperation. You could also try Lewin as well, but if you're going to do Lewin on this guy, then you would want to get special ramping somewhere so that he can just consistently get to Gale Force. But Flow Desperation nullifies Wary Fighter, and it gives you Desperation, so it combos a little better with Chang than it does with Lewin, which gives you full null follow-up and doesn't give you the special ramp. So just a classic Gale Force Flared Sparrow build here. Alarm gives you Canto, so you can get out of the way after you do your 2 attacks and burn the enemies to a crisp with Flared Sparrow. So Owain is a very nice Valentine seasonal here. Then we have the Winter Hilda, who is... She hasn't really held up quite as well as when she came out. Her speed got power crept really fast. Luckily for her, though, Savvy Fighter has a very lenient speed check. It does like minus 10 speed to the enemy. So you're more than likely going to be able to get this. She's fast enough to make use of Savvy Fighter. It also gives her null follow-up, so that's why we're running Arcane Chang here. And Chang with the -1 special trigger and the special ramping works very good with Pavis. We got Deflect Melee, we got Near Save, and Kestrel Stance to inflict guard and save your allies there. So Hilda works out pretty well, even though, like I said, her speed hasn't really kept up the best. But luckily, Savvy Fighter saves the day. And then she has a Super Moon on attack and res. I would say probably just go plus attack and plus speed so you can play her as a speedy armor tank. Alright, next up we have Travin. These final 3 are units that don't need to run the arcane weapons because their actual refines were solid enough. So Travin actually got a really bossy refine. It's better than Arcane Chang. It does like the exact same stuff. Except the one difference is that it doesn't have -1 special trigger. So you know what that means. We're giving this guy Gambit 4 so he can get the 50% DR and the 15 true damage per hit. So Travin is looking really nice now. Like when his refine came out, I might have undersold him slightly, but Gambit 4 hit the spot. That's just what the doctor ordered for this guy. So he's got a Super Boon on defense. Make sure you go ahead and Trait Fruit that onto him. He's got, well, I gave him Florets for plus attack. You could go plus res if you want as well to make him tankier. But And basically, his weapon gives him all stats up 8. It inflicts guard on the enemy. It gives him special ramping per hit. And it's got built-in IO shield. So you can already see how this is similar and better than Arcane Shang. And we've got reposition and Ether here. Ether, of course, for Gambit 4. Distant Reversal is what I went with, so he can distant counter, but feel free to run a different A skill if you want, like Attack and Defense Clash 4 to nullify defense penalties for his defense check on his weapon. He can reduce the enemy's attack stat by 15% of whatever his defense is, so try to stack defense as much as you can with him. Deflect Melee just for Brave Protection, and then also Soaring Guidance to let your other units jump to him. So he's pretty good, actually. He won the lottery with the refine after Gambit 4 came out. Alright, then we have Thea. Okay, so Thea was really, really good when she got her refine, but nowadays, I don't know, man. I feel like the arcane weapons are probably a little bit better. Although her weapon is still giving her enough uniqueness where I feel like you can still run it. So it gives her bonus doubler, which is not typical of flyer weapons. And it also just turns her into a stat ball. She gets like all stats up 9. And she inflicts -1 special trigger on the enemy, so she has guard. And of course, as I said earlier, no -1 special trigger means we can run Gambit 4, so that's what we're doing here. Thea doesn't have a super boon on anything, I don't believe. She might have one in HP, but I don't think you really want that. So just go speed and attack. It's also not like she scores particularly high either, so it doesn't really matter. And then we've got Soaring Guidance, Deflect Melee, and Attack and Speed Clash 4. It's a pretty similar build, actually, to what I decided to give to Travant there, but there are some differences. Thea can be faster, and she has, of course, the super stat ball bonuses from Bonus Doubler. So you would want to support her with, like, Elliewood units to get Bonus Doubler and Null Panic. Or you could use, like, Legendary Hinoka to get, the special ramping on her so you can get your more consistent ethers there. So just some food for thought. Thea works well if you've got proper support, so she can still hang in there a little bit. And then finally, we've got Valbar. This is going to be our last unit we take a look at. So Valbar's Lance, it gives him attack and defense up 10. It gives him special cooldown charging, so special charge +1 per attack. And then it also gives him 60% damage reduction on consecutive attacks. So the enemy's first hit does full damage, and then their second attacks onward will do 60% less damage. And then he also has 7 HP recovery, which is pretty cool. So he does have a way to get some sustain on this build. Escuchian is what we're going with because he doesn't have -1 special trigger. And Hardy Fighter will allow it to just be charged right away. So he can just keep looping this over and over. We got Deflect Melee, Attack and Defense Near Save, and Sturdy Stance. Inflicts guard on the enemy and then just raises his attack and defense even more. Be very cautious about Dragon-type units. You're only getting Escuchian and Deflect Melee protection against them, and then also his 60% DR from his weapons, so Dragon units could beat him up a bit. His res isn't really getting stacked as high as defense, but, I mean, it is what it is. He's a 3-star. What do you expect? But he's got a super boon on defense, so make sure when you're summoning him, the one that you keep is the one that has plus defense. And I gave him plus attack just so he can hit a little bit harder. So there you guys go. These are the Lance units that are free to play that I think stood out the most, and the ones you should probably focus on building. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and later on today, I've got a lot of stuff to do today actually, but later on today, I will try to get to the axe video, and we'll take a look at some free-to-play axes. So that's all for now. This is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, fellas, and I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.